In this video, we're going to be sharing all of our secrets to how we get paid to travel around the world. If you're new to this channel, my name is Jay. This lovely lady is Carolina, and we've been traveling for what feels like a year now.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually used any of our savings. We've actually made money. And so in this video, we want to talk about that and kind of address how we actually do that. We're going to be going to the likes of Japan, South Korea, China, beautiful places, but can be quite expensive. And so it is important to make money. So we put together a list of questions, not only to address them questions about money, but also to get to know us a little bit better. So the first question, Carolina, is how did we meet?
So we actually met back in 2019, so it's been 5 years now.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
And we were working as activity leaders in London, so we were taking the kids that came for the summer schools to learn English just around London and doing some fun activities with them.
Yeah, so these kids would come from like mostly Europe, but some from China, Kazakhstan as well. We're talking like 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and they were coming for English lessons, but then between the lessons, we'll take them around London. And so that was our job to do that.
It's quite nice.
Yeah, it was actually quite nice. It's actually kind of similar to what we're doing now, like traveling and
showing you guys around.
Yeah, exactly. And funny story, actually, we met first in Hull, another UK city. We had a training camp there. I turned up late to London because I just came back from a holiday in Portugal, and I went to give a hug to all of my team members. That's just my kind of personality. I'm very open like that. And then Carolina was last, and I went to give her a hug, and then I just remember you just being like very hesitant, like, don't hug me. So I didn't actually hug you at that time, but why did you, I can't even remember why you did that.
Yeah, so actually we are coming to the second question now, like where we are from, because I'm from Poland and I'm also half German. So I think that it's just also my personality, but it's a culture thing. So I'm a little bit more reserved. Like I wouldn't know how to behave if somebody wants to hug me like at first.
Yeah, like I'm British, I'm from the UK, I was born here, and I think we're just a bit more open. So like hugging, I guess at that point we're close to strangers we hadn't met before. So for me, I'm like, I'm gonna give my team a hug. That's just my personality. My ancestry is actually, my grandparents came from India. They moved to Africa. Then my parents were born in Africa, in Kenya and Tanzania. And then I was born here in the UK.
The next question is what we were doing before we started this channel.
How far back should we go? I think we should go to the interesting, when things start to get very interesting. So before the pandemic, I was actually teaching English in Vietnam. I did the job with Carolina to save up money to become a teacher, to do the course. And then I started working, and then suddenly, just overnight, they closed down every single school in Vietnam. And that was because of COVID. I was forced pretty much to come back home. I'm not gonna lie, I was broke at that point. We're talking, I'm now 30, and that was 26. And how old are you?
Back then, like now I'm 27, so back then I was 23. Yeah.
Something like that. And so my mum actually had to pay for the ticket to come home because I just used all the money I made to become this teacher. So forced to come back home. All the jobs I had lined up coming back to the UK just cancelled because of lockdowns. And so I had some friends when I was living in New Zealand when I was younger who were Colombian, and they were doing Uber Eats. So my dad has an electric bike company, so he was manufacturing electric bikes for like the past 20 years, one of the first to actually bring electric bikes in the UK. So I decided to do Uber Eats on an electric bike. And then I had the crazy idea, not too long into it, to actually get a GoPro and start filming that.
Yeah, for me it was so strange, like thinking about that, because back then I didn't really believe it's gonna work.
Yeah, but like, I think we went for a walk and I was like, I think I'm gonna do this. And I think your first initial reaction was like, you're crazy, because who does that? And ended up actually doing really well, was able to kind of make a kind of full-time living.
And you learned a lot, like you actually analyzed all of the statistics, and that's what led to this channel.
So like I had a few years, this is like the unfair advantage that people might not see about the channel, is that I had a few years to kind of learn the skills, the knowledge. It's like anything, like any job, any skill, if you spend time actually learning it, you're just gonna be, you know, kind of at an advantage. And so that's how we brought the knowledge over to this channel. And I was like, I don't really want to be delivering, like, you know, delivering McDonald's. for like £3. You had, you know, earnings from the YouTube revenue, there were sponsors, but...
And to be fair, we've always wanted to travel. Like even like when we met, like we were actually planning these little trips around Europe, but we always thought that we really want to go to Asia and start like proper traveling.
We were in a long distance relationship, so this is actually how we get to like live together and actually spend time together.
And actually I went through a very regular path. So I finished my bachelor's, I graduated from my master's degree. I took part in some of the exchanges which were the highlight of my actually university, because I met friends all over. Yeah, I went to Belgium, to Berlin, and I met people from all over the world. So back then I was like really fulfilled. But then I was just working for like 2 years or something.
Like in a corporate job.
In a corporate job. Like I really enjoyed this, but there was something missing. Like I was really like looking forward to do something more exciting.
I was always saying to Caroline, like, we can go out there, we can do something. And I think at the time, because you're comfortable in that job, you can't really see it until you're actually living it. And
so you really need to put yourself out there. Like it wasn't easy, like for me
to quit and then
and actually to just go with your backpack and just see how it goes. It was just so stressful as well, and like we were a bit afraid like that it's not gonna work, but
there's always a risk to these things, and you know, it's worked for us. We got monetized in 6 days, but it's because of like I call it the unfair advantage I had from the other channel, which is called Gig Hustle. But the question to you, Caroline, is, do you feel happier and more fulfilled doing what we're doing? Like, I'm not trying to lead you into the question. I mean, honest, you know, answers.
If I wouldn't feel like that, I would probably quit, because there was so many moments that like you were just really insecure. Like you didn't know what the next day is going to bring. Like you don't have a routine, and you need to always like look for solutions, even if you don't know like anything about a specific country.
But so, do you feel like happier and more fulfilled in 100%. This job versus the corporate job?
Like 100%. Like we're living the life of our dreams. That's what a lot of people say.
They say that, but behind so people say you're living, you know, the dream, doing what you're doing, and we are, but there's just so much behind the scenes that goes into it. So we just made ourselves a nice cup of tea. You can see, got a good cuppa over there. But the next question is a juicy one, Caroline. What is that? The
one you've been looking forward to. So it's actually, how do we afford travel full time?
The important, juicy question. So first 6 months, we were monetized pretty much on day one. Like it was after like 6 days.
This was insane.
It's Singapore. Shout out to our Singaporean subscribers. That's where all the magic started to happen. So first 6 months, we were breaking even pretty much. So we said we didn't use any of our savings. That's because for some reason, the amount of money we made from ad revenue just kind of made enough for us to cover our expenses.
And we were also, to be fair, quite frugal. Like we wouldn't overspend on the things that wouldn't feel right.
We're very frugal people, especially Carolina with her Polish background and me having an Indian background. I think we just make sure to use our money wisely. We're not like cheap or anything like that. We'll spend when we need to spend. But especially in the beginning, we didn't know how much we were gonna make. And so we were just staying at places like, oh my God, like we stayed in a place in Jakarta. It was like £11 a night. And I kid you not, I would wake up in the middle of the night, multiple times, being eaten alive by mosquitoes. And then I would squash them in my sleep and there'll be blood on the sheets, on the walls.
Disgusting.
I'd have to like kill them before basically I'd go to bed, and in the middle of the night. So you can kind of understand like the lifestyle we're living. But now we said to ourselves, when we hit 50,000 subscribers, we'll start reaching out to sponsors. So sponsors is the way that we make, I would say, the majority of our money now. We have some great sponsors that we choose that align with our values and what we do. We don't just sponsor, we don't just do any other sponsors.
Just for the sake of it. And what we like to always do is to secure long-term partnerships, because that's the way forward. Like then you don't have to be worried about the next
basically you've got partner. Sustainable income. So the problem with ad revenue is like an emotional roller coaster. One day it could be really high, the next day it could be really low, and you have no real control over it. And that's the important word. Most of the YouTubers and the people who are doing travel videos, they'll be making most of their money from sponsorships. And it's because you can say to the sponsor, we'll do 3 videos, 6 videos, we'll do a 3-month contract, 6-month contract, 1-year contract. And that's how I said earlier in the video, we can predict how much we're going to make when we go to China, Japan, South Korea, and actually kind of cover our expenses. So the first 6 months, it was mostly ad revenue, donations. So we did Buy Me a Coffee. So shout out to anyone who's bought us any drinks on Buy Me a Coffee.
Yeah, we actually loved like choosing whatever we wanted to and actually knowing that you are also a part of it.
So we'd buy drinks and then shout. That was how we kind of did. We would shout you out. And now that's not like as important to us because that as well is like, it's not consistent. So sponsorships is definitely what we're that's how most of our business model, and that is the most part for everyone else. So you might be wondering, how much do we actually make from a sponsor? Like we put a slot for the sponsor in our video, how much do you make from that? And so I was toying with the idea of actually sharing how much we make. We're very transparent, we're very open people, but in this case, a lot of the brands don't actually like us to disclose. I'm pretty sure they don't want us to do that. And in the contracts, it often says like, don't discuss the financials of the deal outside of this kind of between us and the brand. So we can't share our direct earnings. And I think actually puts us at a disadvantage if brands are watching this and they're like, oh, that's their rate, so we can undercut them and things like this. It is a negotiation with sponsorship. Yeah. So we are self-employed, so we're actually having to, it's kind of sales, you're negotiating with the brand. But we can do the next best thing, which is how much people can be making. So you can be making $1,000 from, and we use US dollars because that's like the kind of global currency, but like $1,000 for a video integration, a slot, I think that's quite common. People can be earning $2,000, $3,000. It can really scale up depending on your influence, and your influence is determined by the number of views you have. And also where the audience is coming from. So if it's coming from the UK, US, Australia, Canada, Western countries, the amount that sponsors are willing to pay is higher. It might sound like a lot of money because it's like, oh, $1,000, but think about all of the expenses. We have a video editor, shout out to Rudy, who's going to be editing this. And we also have our expenses of traveling together as a couple. You know, you've got to pay for your hotel, you've got your activities, flights.
Yeah, and also time is money. Like we do really pay attention what we are actually going to film, and we put a lot of effort into planning our videos. Talking
about travel expenses, it is very important that you have a solid travel medical insurance. Just recently, I actually dislocated my shoulder in Poland, and it just goes to show you that you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get yourself into some bother. And so that's why we definitely recommend getting a good travel medical insurance. The one we recommend is Nomad Insurance from Safety Wing. They've just updated their claims process. So you can make a claim in 5 minutes, and with very minimal paperwork, you can get your money back within 7 to 10 working days. Their claims process is very straightforward, very easy, as you can see on this screen. So we put together a list of reasons why we have chosen Safety Wing. And the first reason is that with Safety Wing, it is 0% deductible, meaning you're covered even for the smallest of claims. Now with other insurers, the deductibles can be like $100, $150, so you just wouldn't put through a small claims because it just doesn't make sense. But with Safety Wing, you can put through all of them claims.
And Safety Wing is also pay-as-you-go subscription, so you can cancel it anytime. And actually, it doesn't lock you in any sort of like a contract. And also they provide 24/7 support from the customer care, so you can chat with a real person and get your response within less than a minute.
And on the Safety Wing website, there's a live chat. So with other insurers, with other websites, a lot of the times it's like some kind of email communication, and I really hate that because when you want to get yourself heard, you have an issue, you want to be in contact with a real person, and that's what you get with Safety Wing. And the other thing that's really important, especially for us, is electronics theft cover, and that's insurance for up to $3,000 worth of electronic valuables. And that's really important because as digital nomads, we have a camera, we have laptops, we've got phones, and so it's really important for us to have the kind of peace of mind that our electronics are covered. If you want to find out more information about Safety Wing, we'll put a link in the description. You can head over to their website, give it a little bit of a browse, and see for yourself how easy it is. The next question is, how do we manage our travel expenses? This question's for Carolina because she's the one who's responsible for all the money side of things.
Yes, so I actually created some sort of like a simple spreadsheet that I can monitor our daily spendings. And we often discuss the accommodation that we would like to go for, or like the connections or the countries that we want to enter. And we don't really have a very strict budget, but we don't like to overspend. And especially me, like I come from Poland.
She's Polish.
So like it's
Polish onion.
yeah, which means that I'm actually like really finding for the cheapest solutions that I can.
It's ideal for me because I don't need to worry about Carolina overspending because she's the one who's kind of controlling me. I'm pretty frugal, but Carolina is like another level.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean necessarily that we would resign from something that we really want to
Yeah.
do or like spend on. At the end of the month, like we can clearly see like where we stand because we can see our spendings, we can see how much we earned.
So Carolina has like a spreadsheet. So she puts all the expenses. Every day she'll go back in the accommodation and she'll jot down everything we spent. I don't know how she remembers all this, but again, probably something to do with the fact she's Polish and that might be to do with it.
It's very useful.
And so the spreadsheet at the end of the month, I'm like, Carolina, how much have we spent? Because I'm just like, yeah, let's do that. Let's pay for this. And at
This
the
is
end,
when it comes handy.
yeah, because Carolina's monitoring it. She's like, okay, we're spending a bit too much. Like Carolina said, we don't have a budget. So we're not going in like, this is our budget, but we're quite frugal. We're not overspenders and we just live within our means. And that helps massively. And that's why we don't really need to budget. So we're now in the kitchen because in the conservatory, our neighbors' kids have started screaming because it's very nice weather outside. And so they're basically having a good time. We don't want to have like kids screaming in the background. So we're into the kitchen. This is my home, by the way. So welcome to my home. And just as a side note, if you're someone who's wanting to find out how much money you need to get going to do what we're doing, I think having around like £10,000 per person. So if you're a solo traveler, like having 10,000. If you're a couple, having like 20,000. I don't know what's that in dollars. It's like $13,000 or $14,000 per person. The reason why I recommend that is because if you've never done YouTube before, it takes a long time to learn this. So if you need to know how to talk to the camera, like it's hard, right, Carolina?
Yeah,
even this video, Carolina's like kind of having a hard time.
You would like to be as natural as possible, but sometimes it's just, you know, at the end of the day, talking to the camera.
It's not like normal for you. Like it's me, I've been in front of a camera for a long time, so I've kind of got used to it. And so you got to get used to the camera. You got to know how to video edit, make thumbnails, like graphic design, come up with really good video ideas. And then also, how do you make money from this? It's like a completely separate kind of aspect of this work. And so you need at least a year. And I would say that most people, it takes like a year to 2 years, even just to get to a point where they're like able to make money to travel and do it kind of sustainably. The next question, Carolina is very happy to be asking.
And I think that actually you will be even happier hearing the answer because this is the question that we've been asked so many times. And the question is actually, when are we getting married?
Throwing me into the deep end here.
Yes.
So I think we're going to get married at some point. I'm 30, Carolina's 27. A lot of our family friends are getting married in their mid-30s. So I don't feel like we feel the pressure to get married like
It's just a formality.
Yeah, and I feel like we're spiritually connected, like we're spiritually married, like we are committed, we're in a loving relationship, we share the same values, we've got our future kind of goals with this channel as well. And so I think we're just not really needing to like sign that contract. And also because of our cultural backgrounds.
There will be so many ceremonies probably.
Yeah, there'll be a Polish one and there'll be an Indian one. And Indian ones, if you know about Indian weddings, they can go on forever. And that means that there's probably going to be a large cost involved. And we've just started this YouTube channel for a year. We want to kind of progress and like put all of our time and resources into kind of making this our like life for the next.
Yeah, so eventually we are probably getting married, but like
yeah,
we don't know when.
We don't know when, but probably mid-30s. So we've got a bit of time. But do we want to have kids, children? Kids, children? Kids? Do we want to have kids, Carolina?
Yeah, it's a bit sad actually confessing it, but whenever I'm thinking about like having kids, I just don't feel ready for it. Like it's very...
Yeah. Even I was stumbling with my words when I had kids.
Overwhelming and actually even scary. Like
yeah, it is a bit scary, isn't it? Although my dad had me when he was 30, so that's pretty scary. I think nowadays people are having children and getting married later on in life, and I think it's a really big responsibility, especially like now that we have a YouTube channel. We're like, we just don't have time.
Exactly. I think that actually you guys can resonate with it, that whenever you're having a kid, you are changing your life completely because you are taking care of this little one. So now we are very happy like doing whatever we are doing, and we just don't want to change it.
Yeah, it's a bit too early, and also I think on our travels we come into contact with so many kids, and that can be, sorry to say, can be off-putting because You know,
Yes.
they're crying or they're, you know, just being very loud and naughty, and I think we're just not ready for that. I think that's when you're like, oh yeah,
I think
I don't want any kids. I do think as well, when you're in your mid to late 20s, I think when you get to like 30 as a lady, you'll start to your hormones change, and I think I've got a feeling you'll probably start wanting to have children, but you don't know right now. And also, like, you know, we had to move into the kitchen because the neighbors' kids were
Exactly.
like, you know, basically screaming. So we're not ready for it just yet.
On to the next question. So, how do we handle working together, and do we argue a lot?
Yes, we definitely argue. We're a normal couple. I would think like if a couple doesn't argue, I would be like find that a bit strange. And we don't have like big arguments. They're not like loud and like, I don't know, aggressive or anything like that.
It's more like we are spending most of the time together. So, like, naturally, like you're working together and you're spending your free time together, and it's very difficult to divide both of these spheres.
That is really difficult. Like you have to have your own space, and so I think like all day we're spending together, and then when we come home we just need to kind of just have a little bit of separate time, but we manage it really well. I think they say that when you travel together for the first time, it's like make or break.
And it's a real test, right?
It's a real test of a relationship. So that was something that was crossing my mind. I was like, are we going to pass this test? And fortunately, we are doing it. I believe we complement each other really well. The things that I suck at, Carolina is really good at, and things that Carolina's not that great at,
Vice versa.
I'm like good at. And so we kind of blend together. Yes, we argue, like we can be arguing over the silliest of things. And it's usually down to stress, I would say.
I think so.
When we're under pressure, Carolina, you might not see on the camera, but like Carolina kind of finds it difficult.
Sometimes to be comfortable in front of the camera, and then like
she hit me with a GoPro one time.
Yeah, one time. And we need to repeat something and repeat, and like
Yeah.
this is the frustration. But apart from that, I think that we've been
Yeah, I think we're good.
pretty well.
Yes, we're a normal couple. We argue, but we have small disagreements, and we
That's
kind of
okay.
just, yeah, it's okay. Next question is for the health freak, that is Carolina. How do we stay healthy when traveling full time?
And believe it or not, but this is so difficult because you don't have a routine. You sleep pretty much like each night in a different bed.
Yeah.
Then you don't have like eating habits.
Like healthy habits all the time.
Yeah, and then the list like goes on. Basically, you cannot really be fully like on the go all the time because sometimes it's just too hot. You don't.
It's probably the most, I would say, unhealthy way of living, in the fact that you don't have a sense of routine. You could be eating all sorts of different things. One day you're eating, you know, fried food. The next day you'll be having, I don't know, some healthy food, and it's just there's no balance to it.
And also like filming and like going from one place to another, it's very tiring. So actually you don't really have like power to go to the gym or like to do some exercise because like you're already tired. Like
Yeah, but how do we stay like fit? I think it's because we do so much walking. Like
thousands of steps every day.
I don't know how the other creators do it with the gyms, because I think they find the time to do the gyms, but we find that we're just always on the move, always on the go. Like there's like, we don't have time to even find a gym, and the accommodation we usually go for doesn't include a gym, so it just makes things a bit difficult. But I think that's something.
Although I need to say that like we really like to eat fresh food, especially myself. But
I like my fried food. I like my cookies, my chocolate.
Yeah. But I am the healthy one and taking care of this one.
Yeah.
So like we
I'm
are
healthier because of you. Yes.
yeah, but you like to eat like good food.
Yeah, good food, but you know, it's a bit difficult sometimes. But yes, we find that difficult. It's one of the challenges, but
there's a room for improvement.
Yes, definitely room for improvement. That's something that we're trying to figure out right now, because we've been doing this for a year, and so I think we need to just try and find ways to have more of a healthier routine. We're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
A bit like this video, if you want to follow us a bit behind the scenes, get to know us a little bit better, we'll put our Instagram in the description. Go ahead and give us a follow, and we kind of do stories to show you like kind of behind the scenes and get to know us just a little bit better. If you enjoyed this video, we really hope you did. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the
next video.
That was so bad.